All right. Hey guys, welcome to another Supercast stream. You can see how skinny I am. Lovely. So today we're going to talk about Jaxon Evans because he's been dropped from SCT for 2026, and I just do not understand why. I don't think he deserves it. I think he's done a really good job. And the first things first is I want to start showing, where we're at here in in 2025 in terms of Jaxon's performances. So I'm going to get all that ready for us and then we'll start going through it. Because there's no time like the present. So, I was just looking through it just before I started the stream. And so the first like 6 rounds, Jaxon is ahead of Macca in the points. I don't think I've got the points worked out for round. What round is 9? I think it might be QR. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, we do have round 9. So yeah, so pretty much I think round 6 is the bad one for Jaxon, which is Darwin. He was doing really well before then, and as soon as he went to Darwin, things just started to go really badly for him. What I've got going on here is I've got them all in order of last start results. And he came 18th, so not the best time for him, and not helpful as well. If you're not quite getting those big results, but came 11th and 15th at QR, better than what Macca Jones would have done. Macca, yeah, just well off. But look, he's scoring. So I didn't have a great round at Albert Park, but 84. Then he goes to Tassie. Obviously had a brilliant round at Tassie. And Darwin got 0 points because he crashed in the first race, and couldn't start the next one. And then just that was the end of it. Withdrawn from the third, and then went to Townsville. Didn't have much more luck than that. Kept breaking wheels. Queensland got caught up on the carnage in that one as well. Just hasn't had a clean round apart from the bend. I don't think he had any issues. What do we got on my notes for Jaxon at the bend? I don't think there's a whole lot. Evans or Smith, don't think there's much of it. Not that was on camera anyway. Just all sorts of other people going off track. But I don't think Jaxon Evans did a terrible job. I think maybe something else was at play. I don't think it was about anything to do with performances. It's just my thinking. What else? Obviously got pages of notes. It's not a very big book. I think the only issue might have been Jack Smith's involvement in Nash Morris's issue, but I think it sounded like it was something that happened by itself. But how do things happen? You don't just drive around the track by yourself and then get a flat tire. Well, you can if you hit the curb in a certain way, but you're more likely to do suspension damage than anything like that, I think. Usually a deflated tire will be to do with damage. Nothing for Evans or Smith that I'm seeing. So they just didn't have the pace at the bend. So yeah, what what we've got here is we've got his performances this year. I looked at it last year. I've looked at. I think someone said something stupid on Speed Cafe comments. They said, "Oh, Jack Smith didn't do. Jack Smith did a better job than Jaxon Evans, or Jaxon Evans has done an equal job to what Jack Smith did." Jack Smith was rarely close to the level that Jaxon Evans is at. Look at the number of times Jaxon Evans had 3 top 10 qualifyings in a row. Jack Smith got 1 at Tassie in 2021, and that was because of a tricky qualifying system where he sort of managed to fluke his way in, and then he ended up getting dropped, I think, was it 3 spots? So he didn't even start in the 10 because he got done for impeding. So, yeah, I think anyone who thinks that Jaxon Evans is not doing a good job, I think it's got to be more political. That's my thought. We're hearing Zach Bates is supposed to be going to the SCT car, as rumored to be, and that sort of casts a downward light on SCT, saying, "Well, I thought they didn't need the money, right?" So it's okay, and I thought, but I guess that if SCT own the wreck, sponsor their own car, they've got their own thing going there, and have their own like personnel sorted, run through Brad Jones Racing. Um, in theory, I think did we hear? I think at one point Jack Smith was considering going to Tickford, I think for 2021 or something like that. There was a possibility, but he ended up staying at BJR. So my impression is that the ball is in SCT's court in terms of what happens with things. Obviously, they're going to be running Toyotas because that's what Brad Jones are going to be running, and so if SCT want to continue, then that's what they've got. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that's that there's any reason for a different driver to be considered. Unless, and one of my thoughts today was, or not just today, but I think Friday I was thinking about it, that maybe there were certain expectations that Jaxon had to meet this year, and he wasn't really meeting those expectations. He was impressive at the first round in one of the races. You can see here we've got the 12th up to 10th, so he qualified well and raced up in the 10th. The other 2 races, 18th up to 16th, it's okay. It's not too bad. 19th, so 19th, that's pretty ordinary. Qualified 15th for the first race of the Grand Prix. Dropped to 18th. Looks like he only had pace for 18th, 19th. Taupo, though, now you remember 2024, he raced into the 10 at Taupo in a bit of a crazy race. Qualified 14th, stayed 14th. That was about as good as it got for him. So he wasn't really having a great time then either. I mean, the 14th was a solid result for that car. Then he went to Tassie and pretty much was the best BJR driver, except for when Bryce Forward drove himself to 3rd. So I think if we go to Jaxon Evans, he was his 9th for the round. Bryce was 13th for the round. And Andre will be way down the order because he had a shocker at the bend. And yeah, it looks like Jaxon was the top performer for BJR at Tassie. So, Macca Jones. I don't think Macca was all that close at Tassie either. Yeah, so I think I was like, what's that, 12th, 14th, 13th. And Jaxon was 9th for the round. And so 13th is a pretty solid one. 18th, 9th, 22nd. And he's just had a run of really bad luck. He shouldn't be having such a bad time there. And part of it is qualifying down the back. He's obviously shown that he can qualify further up. Sometimes it's a case of getting caught out in the wrong place, wrong time. So if you're qualifying down in the 20s, you're gonna be in a bit more trouble. But Macca is often he just maybe sort of gets away with it. I think Macca was in the vicinity of the crash that Jackson was in because Jackson started 23rd, Macca started 24th. So in that first crash there, um, well, we didn't actually see it, but I think with one of the second race, we didn't actually see much of Macca at all. So he might have had a pretty decent start. 18th up to 17th was Jackson, so 19th. So there's only one. Well, technically there's one row back, and got caught up in the incident with Waters, Randall, and Golding. Where we go for here? Where is it? Yeah, 23rd for Golding. And then we have to find Waters and Randall are obviously further up because Tickford's a great team. They're like 15th down to 21st. So Randall was struggling all weekend. Was it Waters there? Waters second. 21st at the 20th. So yeah, got caught up in that incident, and that was the end of it. Yeah, I don't understand the thing that where Jack Smith, or not Jack Smith, Zach Bates is going to be coming into the seat because it sounds like a money thing, but it can't be because SCT don't need the money, presumably. I think I've heard something about was it an auto action I read where they said something like, yeah, I think it was auto action in 2022, saying that Jack Smith's entry underwrites Macca's entry. Which is just I don't know. I mean, and this is 2022, so Macca's car was actually a rotating sponsor. It wasn't the Pizza Hut car until 2023. And obviously Bryce Forward brought middies, so middies were paying for that car. They had R&J on Andre's car, and yes, I don't know. It's sort of interesting. What are we doing? I was just thinking about different eras for Brad Jones Racing where they usually change like the first and secondary drivers. Where they were changing like Nick Percat and Todd Hazelwood for Andre Heimgartner and Bryce Forward. And but it's not like that's not like an intentional thing. I don't think. I think it was just sort of circumstantial that they thought Nick was going to be staying, and he didn't end up staying. And they were getting rid of Todd Hazelwood because he wasn't bringing a big bag full of cash, and Bryce was. Bryce's bag of cash has run out, and so BJR have gone shopping and found Cameron Hill wants to jump ship because he wants to drive a Toyota, and that's fine if that's what he wants to do. I just think that I think something else is going on. Like, I still think maybe it's something to do with internal expectations. Or, I don't think it's money, but there's got to be. How do you have? Like, maybe it hasn't been a great year. Like, I don't know if I look at if I switch to 2024. And I know I'm probably not going to get a lot of people watching today um, because it's Singapore Grand Prix this weekend, which means like time zones make it interesting. I don't know what time the Singapore is going to be starting, but obviously it's night time for Singapore, and yeah, I don't really. I'll check. Just check on Speed Cafe. Usually they just have like live and in Singapore, but no, doesn't look like there's anything. So where were we? 2024. So this is Jaxon Evans' 2024 season. Wasn't setting the world on fire straight away, but he drove up to 10th at Taupo. So we're like, oh, this guy's actually kind of good. Drove up to 14th, starts getting head. So had a really solid weekend at Taupo. Perth, not so great. Darwin drove up to 11th. It's a great job there. Qualified 15th at Townsville, pretty good there. And got taken out by Brody Kostecki, who dive bombed him and bit annoying. Had a bit of pace at Bathurst, qualified 15th, ended up down 20th, not sure why. Drove up to 15th. It's not too bad, really. If we have a look at the comparison, Macca versus Jaxon Evans. There's actually an article on Fox Motorsports where they showed, oh, look, Jackson's been beating Macca all year. I haven't seen anybody really come to any conclusion as to why Jaxon is out, apart from um, what did they say? They said something like, I think they sort of just said something that was a bit of a nothing. So I'll Jaxon Evans, BGR seat loss. Yeah, the Fox Motorsport thing, like, oh, it might surprise you. Or the stats might surprise you, blah blah blah. So there's Fox Motorsport criticizing the move. But where did I see it? And it was such a weird announcement too. That's what I thought. It was really weird. Um, um, I forgot what I was saying. I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not. It was what they said. They were like, oh, he's done such a great job. Then why are you getting rid of him? If you say, oh, he's so great, he's contributed so much to this. I'm like, is Jack Smith coming back or something? Is that why we have to toss Jaxon Evans out? It's shocking. Um, Maybe he's gotten too expensive with the crash damage, and they think they can get someone different. Or maybe they had expectations that were unrealistic. That was another thing I was thinking. We have champions of motorsport coming into supercars, race winners, all sorts of really successful drivers. They get their shot. They get their shot at supercars. Aaron Cameron might be banging around the back a lot, but He's won races in Super Two. He was really good in TCR. Did he do Super Utes at one stage or something like that? Might be confusing him with a different guy. I might be thinking of Aaron Borg. But one of these articles said something. I think, is it this one? This velocity one? They said some weird word. Not seeing anything there. Hang on, I'll show what I'm looking at. We can look together. I got not that Firefox, this Firefox. Where was it? Because I was looking at it today. I think it was today. Just looking at they had the chassis switch and things like that, and obviously got wiped out at Darwin. What's the Fox Sports thing? Losing the confidence of chief sponsor SCT Logistics, which is such a weird way of saying it. So hang on. So SCT have lost the confidence in Jaxon Evans. Bryce Forward just had a gap in the budget, which meant that that BJR were looking for a different option that was going to fit the bill a bit better. As that second car has done since they lost Freightliner at the end of 2019. As Freightliner reduced their sponsorship package, so that they just had like a little bit of Freightliner on the back of the car, but not the full thing that they had from 2015 through to 2019, covering Fabian Coulthard and Tim Slade. But losing the confidence of the chief sponsor, which is such a weird thing to think, because I was you know, drivers crash a lot. Now, how often does a driver crash a lot? Some people in motorsport are harsher than others. You know, you've got the Red Bull driver program in Formula One, where if you crash too much, you're out. You know, that can happen. Um, I think, what did Gary Rogers say? He says, you can crash, but you got to also win, right? Because you got to equalize the highs with the lows. I don't think Jaxon Evans has really crashed too much there. Um, I can't look on Facebook because it'll have my login on there. I don't need that being shown. Um, but it's just sort of rubbish. I'll look on Speed Cafe. And because none of these articles are saying, "Oh, this is what we think. This is what our thoughts are on why it happened." It just said it's very matter of fact, and I just think it's ridiculous. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what he said. This is what they said." All of the media outlets are just regurgitating whatever they were told to put out in the statement. Um, so there's a few critics here. These two guys saying, "That's what happens when you're at the back of the grid." Yeah, well, that's obviously true. Sometimes he wasn't at the back of the grid. Sometimes he was further up, and he got those results, and it was better. In this case, supercars isn't for him. He needs to move on and go back to GT where he's been successful. What do you mean supercars isn't for him? Jack Smith isn't suited for supercars because he has not been able to deliver like Jaxon Evans has. Jack Smith had 4 years in the category and struggled. And also there was a comment I saw a little while ago about why. Yeah, here we go. Macca's sponsorship comes from Supercars, part of his Pizza Hut series sponsorship. Um, and Chieftain says, "What's the basis for that claim?" I think that's a fair thing to say. Um, and this guy says, "Not correct. Team sponsorship and Supercar sponsorship are separate," and that might be true. Um, but I think I saw Jeff Dalton's comment um, elsewhere, maybe earlier when there was some we weren't sure about what was going to happen with Jackson, and then it's finally been announced. Um, and it's me talking about where Jackson could go, but I was talking about money. I said MSR hopefully, but Premier possibly isn't worried about how much money someone brings. Not sure if Evans brings money, but it simply doesn't make sense why CT would drop Evans unless he already had an offer. But usually we would already know where he's going. And yeah, I don't think Jackson is leaving though, because I think we would know, and that's pretty much what I said. Because that's how silly season usually works. We know what's going to happen before it happens. Yeah. If only there was a driver out there with a strong family link to Toyota who was a Super 2 champion. Um, yeah, what? Yeah, you basically the only people like who are going to BJR are just going there because they want to drive a Toyota. And I guess Zach Bates' stocks are up. I don't think Jaxon Evans' stocks deserve to be that down, but mm, you know what they say. It's better to be the dumbest supercars driver than the smartest keyboard warrior. Um, Whispers have linked Zach Bates to this Toyota seat. Whispers, lol. I don't know how to do emojis on Speed Cafe. Um, Jack wants his seat back. Couldn't do any worse. That's brutal. Well, I suppose, yeah, he couldn't do any worse. Jack Smith couldn't do worse than he did before. Yeah, and then here's people discussing like what the decision is. who called the shots in a program managed by his nephew, run by his team, scores points towards just pole position, doesn't change a thing. SCT pays the bills, Andy and BJR send the bills. So you're saying that Toyota protege Zach Bates imminent. I hate when people misspell people's names. People say Zach Best wrong, people say Zach Bates wrong. Just like learn to spell their name. I know it's a weird spelling, just spell it the right way. You're saying Toyota protege Zach Bates' imminent arrival at BJR is totally a decision of SCT, nothing to do. How is Zach Bates a Toyota protege? When did Zach Bates drive for Toyota? Like, he was what? He was at Walkinshaws. He was in what? Was he in the 86s? And that's so they want to get another 86 driver in there. So it could be some political stuff going on that Toyota are saying to SCT, hey, if you put Zach Bates in, we'll help cover your costs. But I'm like, surely Toyota don't have that kind of money. It's not like it used to be. It's not like Ford and GM backing these drivers. Although, what's the girl? The girl who's running in Trans Am and TA2 at the moment, who we're hearing, oh, she's going to be ushered into supercars. And supercar, was it? James Warburton saying, oh, what can we do for this girl? And, we'll help get her into Super 2 and do this. And I'm thinking, what do you mean you'll help? She already has Castrol and things like that on her. And then they want to. What are they going to do? They're just going to give them phone numbers so they can ring people and talk about what seat. Those sorts of things would probably be already in the pipeline once she gets well into the season of running TA2 Trans Am. I think Toyota protege Zach Bates' imminent arrival at BJR is totally a decision of SCT, nothing to do with BJR, which runs Toyotas and takes funding from Toyota. Totally safe matters. Yeah, I don't think that Toyota I don't think it's like it used to be. People think it's like it used to be where the manufacturers are so involved that they're bankrolling signing drivers. I don't think it's not like Formula One in the 90s and the 2000s. It's not like that. It's or even it's not like Formula One. So I don't think that there's there are drivers that bring their own sponsorship or that have sponsorship. I think you still see Jack LeBrock with truck assist on his helmet. And if he wasn't getting paid, he wouldn't have it on his helmet. Yeah. I just don't think that Zach Bates is going to do a whole lot better than Jaxon Evans. And so if we see Zach Bates in that car, I know he's done a great job. He did a great job at QR, and he just got roughed up, and that's what happened. In a similar way to what we saw Cooper Murray when he joined the series. People see that Triple Eight car and they go, "You are not getting past me," because they're jealous. And so the same thing has happened to Zach Bates. They went to the Bend and just didn't have a great time there. Lowndesy was saying, "Oh, we've got such a great car," and but Zach's just really struggling with the track. Well, Lowndesy was obviously struggling with the track too. So I don't remember what their result was. But yeah, I just think that it's a lot of rubbish. That where are we going? I'm gonna show the 25 thing again. Did I show on the 25 thing before? Oh, that's a good question. That'd be annoying. So 15th down to 18th for Jaxon. Zach Bates 26 up to 16th. So they did actually have a fast car. They just had a few runoffs by Lowndesy and Batesy, I think, and it just cost them. And obviously being in that Triple Eight car is pretty helpful for your performance levels. So yeah, I'm just not overly Not sure. Like Zach Bates obviously did an incredible job in the top 10 shootout at the Bend in that race. How many races? I think I keep thinking it's like the old super sprint formats where we used to have um one race on the Sunday, or two races on the Sunday, but one on the Saturday. Now it's two on the Saturday, one on the Sunday. Because I used to always go to the Sunday races at the Bend because you get two races. Um, so yeah, I don't think Zach is going to be the bee's knees, but maybe bring some dollars. Maybe that helps, but I still don't think it's the money that makes the difference. I think it's got to be something else. I think, um, yeah, I'm not sure, but I really want to nut it out and work it out. I want to come to some sort of conclusion about why Jaxon Evans is getting the boot. Um, and I think it is maybe he missed some targets. He missed some targets, or maybe the crash bill was too high, but. And the problem is that you can't compare Jaxon Evans and Jack Smith, because Jack Smith they were always making excuses for. Jaxon Evans comes in as an outsider. I know he co-drove with Jack for the 2 years, 22, 23, and he was very impressive in those years. And then he gets the call up after Jack Smith retires, and Jaxon has showed some occasional flashes of speed in 24, and he's really started putting some performances together in 2025. Some of these qualifying for like 7th down to 11th isn't great, but I think that was the one that Bryce got on the podium, wasn't it? That third race? No, it wasn't. So somebody else got past Jaxon. It is Tassie. Um, I haven't really seen much of the Albert Park races. What else we got? You got a crash there at Perth. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember what happened, but he just sort of did it by himself. Which can be a bit frustrating, but you sort of think he can do it, because 25th up to 12th is a really good result. 0 points at Darwin. Went to Towns, who had one clean race, possibly clean. 20th up to 17th. It's a bit of a normal race at BJR. 15th up to 11th. Very good job. And then 21st up to 15th. That's like some solid performances there. Goes to the Bend, doesn't quite have the speed, but 18th is not a terrible result. And I want to compare him to Jack Smith, and you can't really compare him to Macca, because we know he's just beating Macca. Macca would occasionally rock up and come 14th or 15th. But he was just more consistent. And I think the best indicator of this is looking at the championship standings, and how many points they were scoring, because I think it just works better. Kind of hard to tell, but it's not like once Macca got ahead of Jaxon, because round 6 was Darwin, round 7. Hang on, there was one where he got 0 points, right? Jaxon, which is this one. So yeah, round 6 he got 0 points. That's Darwin, right? I was looking at Bryce Forward versus Macca Jones. Oh, that's right. So I got a little bit of an idea of how many points they're scoring roughly. Macca's not that far ahead of Jaxon in the championship. But it's not really fair to compare Macca with Jaxon, because obviously Macca has a permanent seat at BJR and Jaxon doesn't. Jaxon is pretty much getting the Bryce Forward treatment minus the money. He's getting the professional racing driver treatment, which is like, if you don't perform, then you're out. Similar to Andre's position. Bryce's position is basically gave him a contract in 2023 to run him for 24 and 25. And at the start of this year, the sponsorship dried up. A bit of a bad time for bit of bad timing for Bryce, and you could have easily have seen it coming, as soon as, like, "Oh, they're gonna have a rotating sponsor for Bryce." Well, hope you enjoy your last year, mate, because that was inevitable that it was gonna be like that. Um, yeah, so there's not really anyone the only one you can give a fair comparison to is Andre, and Andre is obviously a much more experienced supercars driver than Jackson. So he's obviously going to be outscoring Jackson quite regularly, but he's not even that far ahead. Apart from um, Andre actually had a pretty good weekend at Darwin, where Jackson actually um, he obviously didn't score very many points. So he's 300 ahead there, and then 500 ahead, and then stays 500 ahead. Um, it's yeah, that yeah. I think the difference here is that Brad Jones is pretty good on loyalty when it comes to drivers that they've got a sponsor locked away for. The drivers where, sorry mate, we've run out of, you're not bringing enough sponsorship to your car. This other guy with a big bag of cash is going to come in, so you're not going to have Cameron Hill with the superclass Toyota, and it's going to be a full-time superclass thing, possibly, because I don't think we're not seeing like middies on the bonnet all year or anything like that. I've done something on my back, got a little scratch or something, and so that's probably what it is. Is that middies are not putting up quite as much money. I think I saw someone in the comments somewhere saying that Bryce's family sold um their electrical shop, and so because of that, then middies have gone a different way as well. But it can't always be money that's the answer to your situation. Jack LeBrock is obviously still rallying the troops around his entry and trying to bring as much money as he can. But anyway, so Jackson. So I think, yeah, I know I've said this. I'm probably repeating myself for the 100th time, but I think it is. Um, I think it is a targets thing. Like, oh, he needs to, because he did do. I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been on V8 Sleuth. The Jaxon Evans was saying, oh, I want to make sure that I'm um that I'm being given equal treatment. And so they probably looked at it and went, okay, so then in your second year you should be closer to Andre. And at times Jackson was ahead. Jackson was like the second best BJR driver. It'd be pretty difficult to go through every single BJR driver, but you sort of can. It'll be a bit of a rough guess here. We're already on the page, so Jackson outscored Bryce and Macca in the first round, right? Then Jackson is third best because he didn't have a very great Albert Park. Then the next round, he's back up to second best BJR driver. And they keep on ferrying this rubbish around saying that, like, he's still second best BJR driver there after Perth, right? And then he has a shocker at Darwin. And since then, everybody jumps him. And then he's sitting there. He's just not able to bounce back. Right? But before then, they're talking about a finals berth. Like, oh, Jackson was pretty close to a finals berth. And I'm thinking, I don't think he was, though. If we look at, so what is it, round 5? Here's Jackson right here, right above Bryce. Is Bryce blue? Yeah, Bryce is the blue one there. A bit of unfortunate timing because Bryce actually had a really good weekend at Darwin. I think the potential was there for Jaxon to have a really good weekend because he didn't qualify too badly. I think he qualified like 15th or something. 20th, yeah, so not good. But he was the second best BJR driver for the first 5 rounds of the championship, ahead of Bryce Forward, which I thought was a bit interesting. You know, we're talking about Bryce could have a finals berth because he was um, in the top 10 of the points, but I think it was a more flash to the pan. I don't think that Bryce was actually that close to getting those sorts of results. They're like, oh, he scored that many top 10s. It's like, yeah, yes, he has. It's just that Sunday race really kills you. I think he was saying, oh, we're not qualifying well on Sunday. They're not racing too great on Sunday either. Because the lower part of the 10 doesn't actually give you that many points. You kind of need to be top 5 to be getting some good points from the Sunday race. So you really need to have a solid weekend like you've got there in Darwin for Bryce, 4th, 6th, 10th, where he qualifies in the top 10 and then 13th was his worst starting position. And Jaxon didn't really get that chance. He qualified 20th for the first 2 races, and then that was the end of it for him because he crashed out. And you could look at the same sort of thing for Andre, but Andre is like solidly 10th. He had a couple bad ones, Tassie and Perth, not great, but he did grab a couple 10s. But we expect when you're in the lead BJR entry to be getting those results. I think BJR do actually have a pecking order, because I think it was Brad Jones was talking about, oh, these were the results for was it qualifying or the races or something. He was like, yeah, we had one car 8th, one car 11th, one car 17th, one car 18th, and, you know, that's about where we expected him to be. And that's okay, according to Brad Jones. That's okay. Which tells you that, you know, the way they stack their personnel per entry is they don't have they have like their best. I think they've got Tony Woodward on Andre Heimgartner's car. I can't remember, and they've got what who's with Bryce? The Phil Keed. Phil Keed on Bryce's car. So you got, first of all, you've got a superstar in Phil Keed who, you know, had technical director jobs and went, nah, I just want to be a race engineer. Tony Woodward hasn't graduated from BJR yet, but obviously Andrew Edwards moved to Triple Eight for 2022 when Nick Percat left. So I think Andrew Edwards was already leaving, and so Nick was like, oh, where's my next best opportunity? Because I guess he just didn't think it was going to be... Nick was taking an opportunity. That was all. He wanted to see if he could perform at Walkinshaws and wasn't able to get the job done. And then all the crap's going on at MSR. So I think that you can't really compare Jaxon's experience to any other driver because you've got an obvious disadvantage between Andre and Jaxon, that not just the expectations, but Andre here in 2025 qualifying down the back quite a few times is able to win the first 2 races at Perth down in the 20s, then the third race up to 10th. Like that's 15th for the round for that one. We got Jaxon. He out qualifies Andre and drags it up to 12th in that third race. So I think BJR, I guess, maybe found some pace there, but I think something happened to Bryce. And then you got Macca, who's here. And yeah, Macca found the pace too. So you got 3 cars that managed to carve their way up, even though they weren't qualifying very well. And Bryce Ford was saying, oh, you know, we're not qualifying that well on Sundays. But, that was the case for Darwin, Townsville, QR. What that says is that they're progressively getting slower across the weekend. They start off like out of the truck fast, and then they get worse and worse and worse across the weekend. Like, look at that. 9th, 10th, 15th, 14th, 20th, 22nd. It's like they're just getting worse over a weekend. Or Bryce is, at least. Whereas Jaxon, not so much. Which maybe tells you Jaxon isn't maximizing the car. But he's a second-year driver. Like, it takes drivers 5 years to get good. I've said that before. It's my 5-year theory. That it takes that long. Yeah, we've got to come to some sort of conclusion about Jaxon Evans. Yeah, so I think it's expectations. Certain expectations were set and not met. And then it could also be political as well, where I know some people are saying, "Oh, Toyota are doing this, Toyota are doing that." There's so much hype for Toyota, way too much. Anytime there's like a big bag of cash being waved around, people are like, "Oh, let's jump on. It's gonna be the best thing ever." They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. They say a lot of things like people in motorsport, when they come in waving cash around, they say they're gonna do all sorts of great things. I think Michael Caruso's entry in 2018 was it drive.com.au or something? Some sort of car review website sponsoring Michael Caruso's Nissan. And in the announcement, they're like, "Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to do all these great things." And I didn't see any of it. That doesn't mean they didn't do it, but it means they didn't market it properly. And so, and that actually, that entry ended up, they lost the sponsorship, mysteriously disappeared late in the season. I don't know if I can find it. But we'll have a look. Michael Caruso 2018. Okay, yeah. So it was just a reduction in sponsorship. They still had drive on the car when they got industrial athlete on Caruso's car at the Bend. And I think they had the same thing at Bathurst as well. And they had it for the rest of the year. That was just as good as it gets. And obviously Caruso's out now. He's no longer a co-driver or anything. I'm actually getting pretty tired, but yeah, I definitely want to come to some sort of conclusion for Michael Caruso. It'd be good to go back and look at Caruso's performances over the years, because I think Caruso was really good. He was actually very impressive in his rookie season. Just like some qualifying performances, racing performances, really good. Yeah, and Caruso bought some sponsorship to his drive as well, the Auto Glim. So yeah. Anyway, back to where I was talking about Jaxon. So hang on. So I don't think it's Toyota. I don't think it's I think it might be Targets. We've been over that. The Zach Bates Toyota arrangement, I can understand that as being part of it. I can understand the idea of Toyota coming into the fold at BJR and being like, and talking to SCT, talking to Pete Smith, who's the owner of the entry through SCT Logistics, and saying, "Oh, we want to put Zach Bates on the car. Can we do a deal? And Jaxon was obviously on like a one year at a time deal, and Pete Smith was going, all right. Well, what are you thinking? And so maybe there is some sort of money changing hands, and so it does definitely feel like a shove out by SCT on Jaxon Evans. I can understand that. I can understand the idea of that. I just don't see how likely it might be. I think people exaggerate how much money Toyota are tipping into it. I get that they would be helping fund the homologation, um, because they're obviously, they're helping fund Walkinshaw's. And you know what? Let's stop shitting out of our ass and let's actually try and come up with some evidence. So we're gonna get Googling going and come up with some quotes. So hang on. So we call it Toyota Supra. Toyota 2026 Supra supercars. Yeah, it's 2024, so what they're saying and what they're going to do are different things. The V8 powered Supra. Drive.com.au. You're going to have the Toyota at Bathurst. They're just showing some more teasers. And they showed it off at the grand final, AFL grand final. Toyota chassis. A perfect co-driver to get Bathurst laps after all. Well, let's hang on. Toyota Supercars program. Let's have a look. Is there some some limited editions maybe on the GR Supras? Yeah, sure. So what did they say? What stopped Toyota? Yeah, new insight into Toyota development. It's not really the same. Yeah, looks like the Toyota's actually getting lots of laps, demonstration laps. Which we had that with the Mustang and the Camaro, so that's fine. And yeah, Toyota Australia are the leading part of it. But I'm not seeing a lot of initial agreement supercars runs for 5 years, 20 to 2030. Yeah, so this is what Macca Jones saying, or Brad Jones, his prediction. Believes they can break through to win in its debut season. Yeah, but it will be Chaz Monster or Ryan Wood, or maybe Andre Heimgartner. But I think there's those three drivers, not anyone else. I don't know. I think a lot of it. What are they talking about? The investment. What are they doing? let's go back to the original thing. I hate that it says like 5 minutes. It should. The Supercars website's so broken. It needs to just have a date. Like, tell me when this thing was made. But I know it's 2024 because it's the original announcement. They'll race in the Supercars Championship 5 years. Toyota supports the GR Cup Scholarship Series as well, and the rally team alongside Neil Bates Motorsport. Toyota's a dominant force in international competition. Yeah, and we know that. Who cares? A dominant force. Yeah, well, they're winning championships in NASCAR. They only won the one, right? Toyota is also a major partner. Yeah, can we stop talking about this crap? What's the program? Provide an opportunity for a continuous pathway for drivers and teams that we first established when we launched the One Make Toyota 86 series. Perfect environment for up and coming drivers to learn. Yeah. So they've got a lot of emphasis on the 86 and GR Cup. Well, now branded the GR Cup continuous sport category. So, strong and ever growing partnerships to be so girls bring it to win it. Yes. There's not a whole lot about what Toyota are doing. Yeah. Not really seeing a lot. They thought it was going to be Team 18 because he has Toyota forklift sponsorship. Not only will Schwerkolt's team switch to Toyota in 2026, but it's likely to carry Toyota sponsorship through the lead up in 2025 as it has in the past. That's just pure speculation. God Auto Action just sells a lot of crap. Auto this engine, yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, TRD. Yeah, so there's Toyota's developments. Probably would be involved. 'Cause, 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 Work has been underway for some time at Toyota's local design facility, Altona in Melbourne, to design the car's bodywork. 40% clay model already in existence. And they made a full-scale model as well at Bathurst in 2024. Yeah, so it sounds a bit dodgy, Jaxon Evans getting the boot, honestly. That's what I think he's been screwed over. I don't think he's been doing anything wrong. He hasn't been doing such a bad job. And he doesn't. That's what I think is going on. I think. I don't think it's been a fair assessment. So, Toyota well known for backing its sporting sponsorships to the hilt. So yeah, but with the SET car, it makes you wonder. They own that wreck. Are we maybe going to see some significant Toyota sponsorship on the SCT car? So I suppose while we're at it, SCT Logistics Racing. And let's look at these pictures here. So, we might have seen it if it was going to be happening. Racing 2025. We're not seeing. I don't know what car that is, but hang on, we have to go to look for some. Oh, hang on, can we look for? They have like a. Oh, I don't. Hang on, I'll stop sharing Facebook for a second. Thing for a second, and I just want to see if they've got pictures of the car. No, everything's from 2021. So if I look up SCT Logistics Racing. Looking it up on Facebook, not really. Yeah, we're not really seeing anything. Okay. Alright. Hard to find pictures of it. We're gonna have to look at let's look at Jaxon Evans. The band 2025. That's what we want to see. Is this the car at the bend? Oh, that might be them at the bend, but always hopes it'll be retained. Yeah, obviously. I hate that it doesn't let me. Okay, Jaxon Evans is waiting. Belonging to Pete Smith for SCT Logistics, making for a different complexion as the final slow pans out. A shocking run of outs through winter put a damper on his championship ranking. Well regarded by Brad Jones and Andrew Jones. There have been lingering murmurs still connecting rising stars like Bates to a possible Toyota opportunity. which SCT now holds the last remaining vacancy. And yeah, Evans wasn't confirmed until last November. I think at the same time last year, I was going, why hasn't he been confirmed? I'm not really sure where we're at the moment. There's still some stuff being negotiated, but there's no confirmation of anything yet. So no good news to report. But working hard to make sure I'm on the grid in some capacity next year. Been pretty crazy silly season outside of our camp. Always got a movement happening. I'm not confirmed in my seat. It's something that we're still discussing, but I like to think that I've done a good enough job. Um, I like to think I've done a good enough job in the race results where we have finished. I've had a string of bad luck, which doesn't ever look good on paper, but internally I feel like our progress has been really strong. I feel like when the car is good and we're on, we're just as fast as my teammates. So I'm confident that can be back next year. I just have to wait and see. Mm. Um, yeah, so it's that we're still negotiating stuff that gets a bit confusing. So, and it makes you wonder: is there something in his contract to say this is what we're expecting? Or this is what this is what the Evans camp wants. This is what SCT wants. And SCT, you may be looking at it going, well, we want to get some bigger results. So, is Jaxon Evans going to be the guy, or we got Zach Bates? And then you got this lingering murmurs about Zach Bates. Now, is that actually something that's like a real thing? Zach Bates, Toyota 2026. Right. Yeah, so where Bates stands on Toyota Supercars Dream, 11th of November 2024. So there's that. 25th of September, which was, I think that was before the Jaxon Evans announcement. To shake up supercars and truly historic moment. Well, apparently it seems like they are shaking it up. So, can't help but dream of one day driving a Toyota supercar. The Bates family and Toyota have a long-running successful relationship. Neil, Harry and Lewis all separately won Australian Rally Championship titles in Toyota machinery. Zach himself holds the record for most successive Toyota 86 wins, 8 in Australia. Most successive Toyota E6 racing wins. So while Bates is about to leave the WAU organisation that has been named as homologation team for Toyota's incoming entry, prospect for one day lurks in the back of his mind. And Zach says, at the end of the day, it comes down to timing, but also performance and how you go. I'd love nothing more to be driving a GR Super and supercars. It's one thing saying it, but it's another thing to actually make it happen. But look, beggars can't be choosers, especially in the sport. Yeah, and there's some fair comments, but the timing thing is an interesting comment. Comes down to timing, right place, right time, which makes sense. Make no mistake, as much as he's open to a WAU reunion down the track, he's thrilled with the chance to share AAA Camaro. Been in there recently, it's cool to see how it works. Hopes to use the wildcard program as a springboard in the 2026 main game, much like how Cooper Murray did this year. Yeah, so this was 2024. So he'd been confirmed as being the co-driver for 2025. Um, so yeah, and then silly season. Cameron Hill was the first, officially confirming his injury, followed by depart. Hang on, no, not that one, not the forward one. Confirming his end of year departure. Bryce being confirmed, and then Hill was announced on Wednesday morning. Toyota's first driver market play ahead of 2026, whilst there was also quite confirmation that Macca Jones would go around again. Officially leaves one seat available among the BJR stable, namely customer of entry of SCT Logistics. The Smith family and Andrew Jones will have the final say over the sixth and final Toyota on the 2026 grid. Evans is thought to be highly regarded. However, rumours continue to quietly rumble that Zach Bates could find himself in a Toyota after all. I wonder how much hype plays into these driver decisions. If they go, oh, but and I think in a smaller team like Charlie Schwerkolt Racing, the hype can really make a difference. I got to think of a good example, but I can't really think of one because it's not like Scott Pye had a lot of hype because I think it had sort of fizzled down in 2019. And Mark Winterbottom was obviously the coup move. Signing David Reynolds was a bit of a coup move. And obviously Reynolds is a bit of a personality. There's not really anything about, oh, he could end up in a Toyota after all. Where did I see that? Where did I see that? Don't think I've seen it anywhere. Go back one. Could find himself. Okay, it is this one. Yeah. Alright, so. But where are these rumblings coming from? The rumours. Where do these rumours come from? So. Usually they're coming from somebody involved in the organisation. Otherwise, Supercars and Speed Cafe wouldn't think it's worth mentioning. So, I mean, we always say money, right? We always say, oh yeah, money talks. And Toyota are helping fund the GR Supra for supercars. And maybe they're footing the bill for Zach Bates. That's not unusual. How do they work it with SCT is sort of the thing, right? But so you think, well, maybe SCT are genuinely thinking that Zach Bates is going to be better suited and more successful in the SCT entry, because I think the SCT entry is actually competitive. It's a competitive entry, right? We've seen the results that Jaxon has got this year, and he seems to genuinely have pace. And so it makes you think, if somebody more experienced in supercars were in that, maybe they would do better. But I don't think it's Zach Bates. Obviously it was very impressive at QR, right? But it's Triple Eight's test track and things like that. Lousy would have had a lot to say about, this is how you set a car up for QR. He just loves that place. And Jack had probably done heaps of miles there as well. And, in motorsport, sometimes one good weekend makes all the difference. We saw that with Nick de Vries in 2022. Where he substituted for Alex Albon in the Williams at Monza, qualified in the 10, scored points, got signed for AlphaTauri for 2023, and it was really quick as well. So that could be the case for Zach Bates. He would go to Queensland Raceway. Jaxon Evans has had another rough round. He's racing quite well, but he got involved in another bingle. All right, and they think that entry can do better. They think it should be qualifying 15th and higher every race. You got to remember, obviously, it's a Brad Jones Racing entry, so maybe, but it looks like 15th is possible. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 top 15 starts. So it makes you think. If you had all those lined up in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you'd have a really strong season. You'd be looking like a champion. I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm going crazy. Yeah, I think Jaxon Evans been screwed over. That's what I think's happened. It doesn't make any sense. Like with David Reynolds, you go, oh yeah, David Reynolds just had a rough start of the season. Like, how many top 15s has David had in qualifying? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Had a bit of a turnaround at Townsville. But it's David Reynolds versus Jaxon Evans. Where's the fair comparison? Ryan Wood. But Ryan Wood's at Walkinshaw getting a bit of preference. And Ryan Wood also did Super 2 in 2023. Jaxon Evans just did Sandown and Bathurst. It's not the same. Aaron Love had a better chance than Jaxon Evans as well, and Jaxon really stepped it up this year. But sometimes somebody better comes along. I wanted to check what so when Cameron Hill signed for Brad Jones, what did he say? He said, I'm really excited to be joining Brad Jones 2026 and beyond. A big part of joining BJR is its new association with Toyota. It's a manufacturer that doesn't do things by halves and has enjoyed great success globally. For me, there's already some history with Toyota. I raced in the 86 series, won the very first race, played a big part of my career trajectory. Also really like how Brad goes about his racing. He's been doing it for a long time, starting as a driver himself. You can see his race team is really mature in addition to being very professional. I really like the culture the team emits, and I'm very keen to be a part of it. Ultimately, the goal is to win the championship, and I really like us in a Toyota Supra to be part of that. Can't be more thankful to MSR, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm excited to welcome Cameron to the team for next year. He's a proven talent. Supercars brings a new perspective and experience to our driving group. Working through the process with Cameron and his team has been eye-opening to the passion and determination they have. It's made me certain he's a good fit for BJR. working through our plans for 2026. Obviously, we have some big changes on the cards, so stay tuned. And that would just mean switching to Toyota. But yeah, and it was nothing confirmed. So it does make you think that the Toyota factor is having a big part of it. They're like, you know, Toyota could see him well placed to end up in Albury next year on the 1st of July. Yeah, the long-running history of the Bates family. A Toyota could see him well placed to end up at Albury next year. Bates isn't the only Super 2 talent who could feature in the silly season. Ryland Gray, rumoured to be an option. And the Ryland Gray stuff sort of fizzled down, and I think that's just because of money. I think Ryland does not have the backing that he should have. And Zach Bates brings money. Can't remember what his sponsorship is. Zach Bates. Sure Wines. So yeah, they've got it on his Eggleston shirt, on his. You got New Age Caravans, things like that on that one. Don't think we've got it on the Eggleston one though. Here he is. Not looking super happy. There's the title defender. Yeah, he's got affinity there. So if he had affinity, there, in that one. So he's bringing some sponsorship there. Super Cheap, JMC have been at Eggleston's for ages. Super Cheap usually sticker up the Super 2 car for the wild card. There's Zach Bates there as well. That must be 2023. So there's a bit going on. But yeah, I'm not sure what to think. Supercars. I'm trying to brainstorm stuff, but I am getting tired, so I might end up just going and switching and watching Singapore Grand Prix. It's probably already going or something. I don't know. Not yet. I don't know when it's going to start, but everything to know about its entry in 2026 Toyota. Yeah, showing that again. Weird that I haven't had anyone watching tonight, but I guess because no one cares about Jaxon Evans, that's okay, you know. I'm pretty hardcore. And that's okay because, you know, I don't think I'm doing my best work. I'm trying my best, but I'm getting pretty tired. Also provide an opportunity for a continuous career pathway for drivers and teams. That's got to be it, right? So there was an opportunity for them to shove out Jaxon Evans, who didn't drive Toyota 86s. So they're like, yep, off you go. Can't get rid of Andre because he's got a contract. Can't get rid of Macca because he's the boss's son. I reckon Jackson's been shoved, and I'm hoping that we're going to see Jackson linked to a different team for 2026 because I think he's got the potential. The problem with Jackson is he doesn't bring back cash. So, yeah, I think this is it. I think the continuous career pathway for drivers and teams from the Toyota 86 series. I think that's the most important part. Um, history's, yeah, we know what its history is. We don't really care. But obviously, the Bates family is a big part of it. Um, Toyota Gazoo. Yeah. Australian Rally Championship. And the Scholarship Series and the Toyota 86. Yeah, Will Brown, Brock Feeney, and Cameron Hill. So yeah, I think that Toyota were sort of been a big part of it. I think a lot of people are probably right in that respect, but it just takes me a little while to really connect the dots because I don't like to believe that someone can just be shoved out of an opportunity because they didn't do the right pecking order. You know, Jaxon Evans did Porsche, and so Toyota have gone, yeah, we want Toyota drivers, so we want people, and they want to establish that pecking order. They want to make it absolutely clear. Zach Bates drove for Toyotas, and I bet they might be selling that story quite a bit. At the start of next year when they start ripping the covers off the cars and going, you know, we've got Zach Bates at SCT, we've got Cameron Hill in BJR, and you know they both were banging wheels with one another in Toyotas. Well, maybe not Hill and Bates, but you know everyone's seen those guys in those cars, you know, winning races and battling it out, and um, but yeah, hell, even Declan Fraser could have been an option there, but um, you know, and Decker is in the BJR camp, so it's sort of interesting there because Decker's even done like guest appearances. So Decker could end up in the SCT car. I know we think he's locked away, and Andre joked to me at the bend. I don't know if he's joking or if he's just like, I don't give a crap, so I'm going to say what I want to say. Andre's a funny guy. I asked Decker if he's got a seat for 2026, and Andre's like, "Yep, locked and loaded." So, and I think we hear enough stories constantly about Decker being signed to Premiere and Ojeda being signed to Premiere as well. So yeah, they've sort of missed the opportunity. The windows of opportunity were doing different things. Toyota are sort of doing things slowly but surely. They don't need to urgently lock in a driver for 2026. And so they're probably just really looking at their options. And having a Bates in a Toyota in 2026 is a great part of the story, and it's going to help make headlines for Toyota. And that's what they're going to want. They sell cars. Nice Ford versus Ferrari. They sell cars. Yep. You know, they're just selling a story, the famous 1, 2, 3. So that could be it. I think, yeah. As much as I hate it, as much as I hate um, money coming into it. Um, Having things be 1 year at a time with SCT, and the same thing with Macca, 1 year at a time. It's frustrating because it's just, and I think even with Todd, it was the same 1 year at a time. Um, so I think we haven't heard anything about Jaxon doing anything yet, but maybe Jaxon hasn't done anything yet. So his camp have just been booted out of SCT, and I imagine they probably would have got on the phone to a few teams, talked to Blanchards, talked to MSR, talk to Premier, even maybe see if anything's actually locked down. But I imagine if they know, then they know they're wasting the time. Um, so so and then you got this article about Zach Bates. Obviously his mum died. And I've heard that there's a really good Rusty's Garage interview to look into. So that'd be good to give it a go. Different perspectives of motorsport's always interesting. Um, and so we're gonna see. Might not see much mention here. It's obviously like a tribute thing. While the Bates family's history with Toyota sent speculation soaring that he could join the Mark's new V8 entry, there's no deal in place and few seats left anywhere on the grid. Reality for Bates is that how he performs at Bathurst could have a major impact on whether he can take the next step and become a full-time supercar driver in 2026. Says there's been a little bit of interest in the media. My name has popped up a few times, which I feel very flattered about, but there's nothing concrete. All I can do is go out there, go my hardest, and try and do the best job I can. That's really my audition. I'm not sure where when this might have been the interview might have been done. My cousins who'll be working in the 86 series. Some of the extended family as well. No shortage of support. Yeah. So that's what he's saying. Nothing concrete, which means no contract's been signed. But if Jackson's been booted out, the negotiations might have been the Evans camp might have said, well, we want to go again. And the SCT camp might have said, well, so something is making them hesitant. All right. Which is frustrating, really, because drivers do go through periods of bad luck where they just get up in too many crashes and things like that. Whether you could say that all the greats have been through that or anything like that, I don't know. And maybe even are there drivers from these days that from this season that have also had bad luck that we just hadn't thought about. I don't think so. I don't think it's the case. I know Will Davison has had bad luck quite a few times, but not crashes and that's probably bad. Like, that doesn't look good. Reggie Stanaway, he's had some issues, DNFs. Not too many crashes, really. one for Jimmy Golding. Yeah, there was that one, but that also featured Cam Waters, Tommy Randall, um, Andre. Not too much going on there. Cameron Crick, obviously a wild card. James Courtney, not too many crashes either. We haven't really seen too many crashes from anyone. Even David Reynolds just been slow. Some of the veterans crashing into one another. There was this one, was a Tassie, with Courtney and Davison. Jack LeBrock had that one at Albert Park. So many for Cameron Hill, I don't think. Just not quite getting the results there. Qualifying well, but then that 8th dropped to 24th. Not sure what happened there. I think he had an issue and I haven't written it down. Thomas Randall, not too many crashes. Cooper Murray, who I was calling Captain Carnage for a bit. One at Perth. I don't remember what that was. Just some sort of separate issue. I think he banged into Jaxon Evans or something. And so then again, you do wonder, like, I think Ryan Wood been in his own share as well. Bit of biffo, and he's always saying, "Oh, he can be so emotional." Ryan Wood. He's like, "Oh, it wasn't my fault. It was the other guy," and bit sooky. But we like Ryan Wood. I don't think I got his signature. No, because I would have talked to him. Not too many crashes or anything, so yeah. I think I'm gonna wrap the stream for today. I reckon we had a good crack. 1.5 hours of me rattling on about Jaxon Evans, and I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna run out of steam here, and that's just not going to be a good look, and we don't need that. We'll just let it slide away, and maybe have something to say, clip at some other stage. So yeah, see you guys next time. Bye bye.